Live Alive wronged me, but I've forgiven it. Let me share with you how a critically acclaimed game broke my heart and how I've managed to overcome my issues with it. And maybe you'll find the story cautionary and, dare I say, even relatable. And maybe it can help you to forgive some of the games that you've begrudged over the years. I recognize that it might be Live Alive or Live Alive or whatever else. Live Alive, but Live Alive is a lot easier for me to say, so that's what we're going with. First off, what is Live Alive? If you've seen Octopath Traveler at all, you have a pretty good grasp of what Live Alive is about. If not, hey, I got you covered. Live Alive was an RPG released in 1994 in Japan that was never released in the US. It received an unofficial English translation from fans many moons ago and became quite popular with Super Nintendo RPG enthusiasts. Many copies of the games were sold as reproduction English translations. Heck, I even made a few of them myself. But Square Enix blew us all away when they announced that not only was Live Alive getting a US release, but that it was getting a remake with the HD 2D graphics of Octopath Traveler fame, which included new sprite work, incredible lighting, and great particle effects. All of these things on 3D backgrounds make for a lovely aesthetic. And for those of us who hadn't played much of this game at all or put any real time into it, this was an absolute godsend. And with this announcement, RPG fans like myself sat in giddy excitement, just waiting for the day. Let's talk about critical reception, but first, I'd like for you to stop and think about this. What is a game that you were crazy excited about releasing, but when it came out you were sorely disappointed? I'll give you a moment to think about it before I continue. Put your answer in the comments, I can't wait to read them.
Within his own lifetime, Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap Accelerator and vanished.
This game was certainly well received among RPG enthusiasts and among video game critics as well. I bought the game without seeing the reviews at first because, honestly, it just didn't matter. I was sure I was going to love this game. A remake of an old RPG with brand new visuals, it's hard to beat that. I mean, this is using literally my favorite video game aesthetic now, the whole like HD 2D thing. I love it. I love it. The Metacritic score on this game is an 81, which is really solid. The game came out to a pretty wild hype and pomp and circumstance, and it was understandably so. Now let's talk about my issues with it. I began the game as the cowboy, and I thoroughly enjoyed this portion of the game. But when it was over, I noticed that something was missing. I had basically no opportunity to advance my character, and that's odd. I'm used to at least having the opportunity to grind should I want to, or explore and find better loot should I want to, just something. I started playing through some of the other characters and began to notice that again. Not every chapter robbed me of the opportunity to grind and prepare, but a lot of them did. One I want to note in particular was the robot section. Now, the robot part was probably my favorite of the chapters, but again, there was no grinding or preparing. Everything felt so scripted, kind of like this video, right? As I continued to play through, I marveled at the uniqueness of each character and chapter, from psychic tales to revenge stories and ninjas and MMA fighters. It's brilliantly diverse, but I've started to lose interest because it's just so scripted. In the battles, in the most scripted parts of the game, there is little option. You either choose the right thing to do or you choose the wrong thing to do, and you pay the price for it. I know that sounds like basic gameplay, but it's like, unless you do this, you're not going to win. There's no other option. There's no skirting around these things with a higher level or more HP or unique abilities that you've chosen. It's just do this or you're done. There's not a lot of strategy involved here. It's almost like using a pre-constructed Magic the Gathering deck or something. There can't be any surprise because that's literally all you have in there. There's no grinding, there's no learning new abilities, there's no equipping new armor or some combinations of skills on a grid or anything like that. And this can be refreshing for some people, I know, but it's not for me. That's why I play RPGs. I like this opportunity to experiment and try new things. It was almost depressing for me. I wanted so much more out of the cowboy part and the robot part, and even so a few of the others, but I just didn't get it. To be fair though, some of the chapters I just wanted to see the end of. The game is mostly, at least inconsistent in quality, to say the best, from chapter to chapter, and so I became a little jaded about this game. I kept telling friends who were asking about it that it would really have to bring it all together in the end, or it was simply just going to be a disappointment for me. But oh boy, did the ending pay off. You know what else pays off? Subscribing to my channel. The final chapter works to reconcile the stories. I'm going to do my best not to spoil this for anybody, so here we go. Carefully, we'll tread carefully through here. You begin as a character you first chose, and you wake up. You can go from here into the endgame immediately, or you can go around and recruit the other characters from the different times. This stuff is completely optional, but it changes the outcome of the game in the end. This is where the game really opened up for me. The other chapters were simply a prelude to this one. This chapter gave me what I really wanted. The opportunity to explore and try out some of these abilities and work combinations with characters and such. New abilities, new gear, battles to fight and level up, and chances are you need to level up before the last boss. The least amount of work that you put in the final chapter, the more punishing the last boss will feel. But with the ability to grind levels and synergize your character's abilities with their newfound gear it's the RPG that I was looking for. It's weird to suggest that it was 9 chapters in before the game really opened up, but to some extent, this is true. And this really is not too different from Octopath. The first chapter of Octopath is a story opening for each character and must be completed alone. After that chapter, however, the character can join others and synthesize the abilities and work together with other characters. The synthesis of abilities in Octopath, just like in this game, is what makes the game so much fun. So many other games give you different options for finishing a game to varying degrees of quality. This one may follow suit, but if you really want the full experience that's leaps and bounds above the others, you have to work to complete this game. Again, the 9th chapter does an incredible job of pulling it all together and giving us an excellent boss with a satisfying ending. Before we continue, I'm going to ask again that you write a response for me. Regarding the game that you commented before, if you participated in that, are there any redeeming qualities to that game? Is it possible that you could come to forgive this game? Take a moment and share that in the comments below as well, please. I'd really like to see it. In short, the final chapter made up for any grievance I had with the first chapters. The first chapters now I can see as the masterpieces that they are. It is brilliant storytelling and programming well beyond its time in 1994. While we were getting absolute banger after banger games at the time, this game was just so different. It's not Earthbound different, like story-wise. It's not pedigree different, like Final Fantasy VI. It's experimental. That's really cool. How's this? It's a remarkable experiment that I would recommend to any RPG enthusiast. It is available physically and digitally on the Switch, and digitally on the PS4 and the PS5. If this changes, please make sure to drop a comment and let people know below. Before the conclusion too, let me take a moment and say thank you to Bubby Cat and Lutherbot for becoming patron saints on my channel. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you beautiful folks. So maybe Live Alive didn't wrong me as much as I wronged Live Alive. I didn't know what I was getting into when I thought I did. With the understanding that I may have miscalculated what this game was and allowed my interest to wane along the way, and that I may have overhyped myself about it, I recognize that Live Alive is a brilliant game and did not fail on any of its promises. I just mismanaged my expectations. What about you? Have you had any experiences with games like this one? Are you still upset about it, or did you manage to change your mind over time? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. After all, gaming discourse is important. We should continue.